I just want to try and explain why I was crying.
Okay.
I'm recording this conversation as well, love, because I don't have to say it again, basically.
All right.
What I mean is, Kath, all these thoughts and type of like all these thoughts and feelings about my life and the multiverse, different dimensions. I've never had a conversation with anyone about it really.
All
Like,
right.
as in like, like a person's opinion or kind of what they think type of thing.
Yeah.
I've just, I've never had that.
Right.
Yeah, I've never had that type of you to deal with certain thoughts and like being able to prove the existence of a god cat.
Yeah.
To basically tie evolution and religion coming from the same source, coming from the creators of the simulation, basically.
Right.
And what I was saying about you're not being able to like kind of where to begin with, I was saying what's up.
Yeah.
There's like so many thoughts and so much has happened since 2009, and like proof that we're in a simulation, just all kinds of different things, and kind of believing that I've been flitting from dimension to dimension, and I've not been experiencing the same conscious like people. Like I'm talking about family and friends, you as well. Like I feel I'm not
Like what?
like I'm not speaking to to the Kappa that I've always known. Or I'm speaking to different versions of Cap. Like, and that's absolutely everyone type of in my life. That people are who they say they are.
Well, there's only one me and there's only me here and
And
I'm
that's the
saying,
point I'm making as well. This like concept of experience the multiverse, and where I might ascend to another say dimension, it's still a version of the person, but just this is what I mean. It's so fucking confusing. It's like I'm just gonna try to think if I can think of something to type of like to trigger it off, and then hopefully the rest will kind of flow. You know what I mean?
uh,
It's like the number 13 as as a prime example. You know, and the simulation and that type of numbers that connect to a person's life and also the letters in kind of words have also having association with the number 13, Jack.
right.
Like Downing Street, 13 letters. The White House, 13 letters. Constructed on the 13th of October, 1792. And then you've got United Nations, 13. European Union, 13. The Middle East, 13 letters. United Kingdom, 13. And for some reason, West Yorkshire has 13, and it's also District 13, which plays a massive part into the simulation. It seems to be a centre point of a lot of 13s.
Uh,
Like three extraterrestrial races, or I should say four extraterrestrial races that are well known, like on type of the public domain. The reptilians, 13. the Arcturians 13, the Pleiadians 13, the Tall Whites 13, New World Order 13. The reptilians are obviously. I'm some kind of reptilian chap. I'm some kind of reptilian hybrid. But I could be all kinds of different things in, kind of different dimensions. In one dimension, I could, my mother could have give birth to me the natural way. But then in another dimension, identical to the fucking, he's identical. In another dimension, I also believe I'm some type of government experiment. It's like in 2009, getting type what call it a section, and kind of everything happened behind that. And I went down to see my ma once. I said to my ma, "Is there anything you could, tell me that can make me understand it? Like not trying to like get to the bottom of it and trying to prove what I'm, to type of prove anything. Because I learned that in 2009, Kath, when I was talking about simple things, not reptilians, not the matrix, not experiments. I kind of realised, with what I was saying at the time, were impossible to prove. It's absolutely possible. Anyway, so I'm in the kitchen and my mum starts crying. And you said that me and Paul shared this hereditary gene that we got from his father Stephen. Walker's biological dad. That we share, me and Paul share some type of hereditary gene, and that was part of kind of what it was about. Like there's some type of connection between my father's history, my father's psychiatric history, the like I don't think I've been told I don't think we've been told the truth about his death. I think there's something behind my father's death that that we just don't know, almost like a fucking family secret type of thing. And because of my father's psychiatric history or whatever led to his death or the circumstances type of behind it, me and Paul are some kind of experiment I don't know, to understand certain type of behaviour linked to my father. Anyway, when I said to him, when I said to my ma, is there anything you tell me? Yeah, and then that's what she said. You and Paul, have got some, gene that they, want or they're interested in, whatever. And then my dad came in to like protect her from, you're saying too much, that's no type of thing. It's like my mum was physically fucking crying, Cat. And then my dad came in, and kind of pushed her down, just to say, like protect her because she was saying too much. And I never had a conversation after that with my ma about, what did you mean by that? What gene do me and Paul share? It's like I've got a tile that I did in 2009, Kath, right? In 2009, in, in 2009, I did time for me and Paul. I did Paul one with Lynch. I don't know if I put number 13, on Paul's tile. I can't remember if I put a 13 on Paul, but I, yeah, I did the same time for me and Paul. Like your mind has got number 13 on it, but the three, if actually the one that's supposed to be one looks like an eye, and the three looks like the top half looks like a 7, and the bottom half looks like a 3. Now you could call it the hybrid number, which I believe I'm some kind of fucking hybrid. Anyway, so that 13 in 2009, and the theory on the 13 and the number 17 came kind of years later. I'm really trying to get I'm really trying to make sense of this, Cap, and not sound incoherent. And that's what I meant by by saying, where do I start?
Mhm.
Anyway, the feed on number 13, that came about. Do you remember, like counting your cigarettes in your packet cap?
Yeah.
Yeah, but do you remember?
Yeah.
Right, tell me what I mean.
Well, when I had 13 in my pocket,
Yeah.
I counted them at, I think we were at, can't remember where we were.
Right. Anyway, cap.
But yeah.
Number 13, that, you go to the supermarket, you come back from the supermarket, and I'd look at the bus ticket, and it'd be 13, 13. You're not fucking, can't look at it for any reason, just looking at the receipt ticket there from the supermarket.
Yeah.
At this time it would be 13, so I'm looking, and I'm not going to think about it to begin with, just kind of looking at it, I kind of see the 13. And there was times you get a bus home from work, and then I'd look at the bus ticket, and it'd be 13. And every time I seemed to look at the clock, it always used to be 13 or 13, 13. And then uh, in those days when I used to smoke cigarettes, you know, I used to count them, but at kind of random times, and it always seemed to be 13. And I say to you, just when this seems to be going on quite, like the 13 kept on coming up. It kind of highlights in your mind when it keeps coming up and up and up. It's and it keeps you thinking a bit. I mean, people talk about this type of thing, don't they? When they see repetitive numbers, 222 555. You kind of Google it and it talks about your kind of angels and that type of stuff. It's your angels type of send you in a message. And every time I
Yeah.
seem to count my cigarettes, coincidentally, they always used to be 13. Uh, and then I think we went to Richard's, look at Sarah's house that time, and Paul's girlfriend Damien was sat on the floor. I said to her, "We count how many cigarettes you've got," and I bet you've got 13. And then we counted the cigarettes, and she laughed. And there were 13 in her chocolate packet. And then Paul came once and said, "You want to watch Sopranos?" you know, and I said, I'm not interested in long, drawn out 10, part series. He said, give it a chance, you'll fucking like it. I said, how many episodes the first season? And he said, 13. I thought, oh, cook it out. And then when I
Mhm.
watched the first episode, it was with Tony Soprano's, his son's, birthday, and he was 13. Anyway, the point of all this, Cal, I used to kind of it it kind of doesn't mean anything, does it? As in cigarettes and bus tickets, and the like. Every time looked at the time, but I know it kind of like fucking meant something. But there's nothing to see there, is there? I used to post it on social media. Look every time, look at clock. It's 13, and I'm watching I'm watching a film. It's 13. There's a person with a 13 number hoodie on, and then it got to like watching porn videos. I look at a porn video and it'd be 13, or, 13, 13. And then it became with scratch cards. Like every time I got a scratch card, it'd be number 13. And how fucking bonkers this sounds. Porn videos, scratch cards. I thought it was about type of your like sin and rebellion. On God, type of said. It sounds. I'm trying to make sense of this guy. I'm really trying to make sense of this. This relentless of 13 this and 13 that. I once got on the taxi to go to the shop to get some scratch cards, and I looked at the clock and it was. I can't remember if it no, it was what it was what 13:13 the time on the clock. And then when I got into the shop and got some scratch cards, and when the person put the scratch cards on the table, the number faced up was number 13. Then when I got in the car to come back down home, I had this you know call over the radio, car 13. And I said, "Your car number 13?" And they said, "Yeah." So the fact I got in the car at 13, 13, scratch card 13, car 13, I started thinking. it must be about sin and rebellion and that type of stuff. I did a video in 2015 talking about this, about the relationship with the number 13. Anyway, I was watching Zero Dark 30, a film about the hunt for Osama bin Laden, and I'm looking at Osama bin Laden, and this thought said, count how many letters in Osama bin Laden's name. So I counted them, and there were 13. And then I wanted to understand the Iraq War, why it was illegal, and all that type of stuff. So I watched a documentary on the Iraq War of 2003, and again count how many letters in his name. But it wasn't a thought. It wasn't like kind of my thoughts. You're saying that you're basically saying count how many letters is Saddam Hussein's name. I just kind of subconsciously we're just looking at Saddam Hussein's name, not thinking count how many letters. You understand?
Mm.
So Saddam Hussein, 13 letters. And then as I carried on watching the documentary, it got captured on the 13th of December 2003. So now I'm thinking, something, there's something about this. Like, Osama bin Laden, 13, Saddam Hussein, 13, 13th of December 2003 is when he got captured. Then I wanted to educate myself on evolution. Or thinking that's what we're doing, just trying to understand evolution. Uh, and then I was reading about Charles Darwin. Now you know Charles Darwin is, don't you?
Yeah.
Right. I say that for my own clarity, Gav, not because I think you're stupid. So Charles Darwin, 13 letters. Robert Fitzroy, who was the captain of the Beagle, his ship to go to the Galapagos Islands. Robert Fitzroy, also 13 letters. Thomas Malthus, who was also the person who give Charles Darwin this sort of survival of the fittest. That the that the bad genes are weaned out and the good genes is what carries on to get a better species. Thomas Malthus, also 13 letters. 13th of February, Thomas Malthus was born, 1766. And Charles Darwin, what began the evolution? Jack, I'm saying this right, and I'm not trying to, because this, where I'm sat is coming from the system. It's coming from. I'm not saying anything kind of unique here that these people who are monitoring me don't, know. It's coming from the system. I'm just trying to, like, talk to someone about the
Mm.
multiverse and why it's, like, fucking not being easy.
Uh,
And why I said to you, where do I start? Anyway, at the start of evolution was Charles Darwin's the 13 finches from 13 Galapagos Islands. So Charles Darwin 13, Robert Fitzroy 13, Thomas Malthus 13. 13 Galapagos Islands, the 13 finches, unknown to zoologists at the time, proving that species, like 13 different type of species of finches, proving kind of evolution.
mm.
13 main chapters 13 main chapters in the origins of species. It took Charles Darwin 13 months to write the book on origins of species. That's the same with religion. And I'm talking about, significant dates, like with the number 13, and letters in people's names that also correlate with numbers. The Last Supper, the most significant event in biblical history, 13 letters. Judas Judas Iscariot, 13 letters. His father Simon Iscariot, 13 letters. Judas is kind of known as being the 13th to arrive. at the Last Supper.
Mm.
It's like you've heard. I mean, most people have heard, what in reference to Judas being the 13th, and how that's an unlucky number. But I've never heard anyone associate the 13 with letters. Like the Last Supper, the most significant, one of the most significant type of events in Christianity. 13 letters. And it's the same with Judaism. 613 kind of commandments, being brought down to the 13 principles of Judaism. Yes, 613 type of commandments, all that type of stuff. You're brought down to 13. God's 13 attributes of mercy. And there'll be so much more to this. There'll be so many more connections within Judaism, and this is type of basic. And it's the same with Islam as well. It's the same with Islam. The Battle of Badr, the most famous battle in fucking Islamic history. In Islam. Because of Muhammad's overwhelming odds against the army that he defeated. But what's documented for that battle, which there would have been no headcount at that time, there would have been no registration, and no type of thing would have survived from the 6th century. It's absolutely impossible. 7th century, nothing would have survived from that time. But what's documented, what's out there is 313 infantry, and that the Battle of Badr was fought on the 13th of March. 624 AD. So it's the same with Islam. The 13th of March, 624 AD. He got the kind of the type of Islam, kind of. He got the prophet. He got the prophecy, the apparition from Angel Jibril, as they say in Islam. In 613 AD, that's when Muhammad had this kind of apparition. When the apparition. So when you think about type of Islam, 613 AD, you think of Judaism and the 613 commandments, and you think about religion with the last supper being 13. You think about all the connections with Charles Darwin and all the. In fact, actually, Charles Darwin's father, Robert, the name Robert seems to be a key type of name that seems to be at the centre point of a lot of like historical type of things. But it's Charles Darwin's father, Robert Darwin. He was born on the 13th of November. The point I'm trying to make is, Cap, whether this is unique or not, whether I'm in my own isolated type of simulation, whether all this has happened and it's on some kind of loop. I don't know if I'm 100 years ahead or 100 years behind. I don't honestly believe I'm saying anything unique here. I'm very unaware. I'm just talking about I sit here basically being able to prove that religion and evolution is coming from the same source, to prove things that for my life and my understanding, for my up and down, my like my day to day type of thing. I'm not finished speaking yet, Gaffer. If you want to go to sleep, just leave the pillow by you. Just leave the phone by your head. So I mean, there's so much I could talk about, and so much I don't want to talk about. I can't be bothered, Cap. I'm wasting my time. But the multiverse in different dimensions, flitting for like some fucking time traveler, some interdimensional fucking person flitting through the multiverse. It's like Margaret Thatcher. Margaret always gets a mention. Margaret Thatcher was born on the 13th of October 1925, right? And she became Prime Minister on the 4th of May 1979. The first British Prime Minister, female Prime Minister, the first female British Prime Minister. And in today's, at the present time, Rachel Reeves, who is the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Labour MP, she was born on the 13th of February 1979. And Rachel Reeves became the first female Chancellor of the Exchequer. So they share that connection with the 13. Margaret Thatcher, 13th of October. Rachel Reeves, 13th of February. And Margaret Thatcher becoming the first British female Prime Minister, 1979. Rachel Reeves becoming the first female Chancellor, born 1979. Theresa May, the second female Prime Minister, a Conservative, taking office on the 13th of July 2016. And she was also the 13th Prime Minister to serve under Queen Elizabeth II. So not only do you have Margaret Thatcher being the first female Prime Minister, you have Theresa May being the second female Prime Minister on the 13th of July 2016 and the 13th to serve under Queen Elizabeth II. So even in present times and where I'm sat now, so everything's part of the simulation. John Healey, the Defence Secretary, born the 13th of July 1960. Keir Starmer, the British Prime Minister, born the 2nd of September 1962. That is the end of the Second World War, the date, the 2nd of September 1945. And Keir Starmer was born on the 2nd of September 1962. Now, in 1962, there was the Cuban Missile Crisis between the then Soviet Union and the Americans. The 13-day confrontation, really close to an all-out nuclear war. The closest, I think there was 1962 and probably kind of early 80s, the two type of major type of worries for, kind of nuclear war. But 1962, the 13-day Cuban Missile Crisis, which adds into why Kennedy was assassinated in 1963, because that's where number 17 comes into the situation as well. The Bay of Pigs invasion in 1961, which was to overthrow Fidel Castro. That's what led to the Cuban Missile Crisis of 1962. Because of this, type of CIA, situation of wanting to overthrow Castro, and because Kennedy wouldn't give them the support that that they wanted, like kind of air support, and it held back like what they really needed to do the job. There was so I'm not educated with this bullshit, Cam. And to be quite honest, I'm not an historian. I'm not trying to talk like I know what I'm talking about. But 1962, with the Cuban Missile Crisis, which added to what call the Kennedy situation. We have no free will, Cap, and we have no choice. Whatever the simulation is, it's it's where it is, Cap. What do you think about what I'm saying, though?
It's very complicated when you don't.
Eh?
It's very complicated when I don't really understand it.
Would you think it's a coincidence that, like Downing Street 13, the White House 13, United Kingdom 13, West Yorkshire 13, District 13, all these type of kind of associations, the Reptilians 13, the Pleiadians 13, the Arcturian 13, the kind of New World Order, for all these type of 13s? I think I'll just try and talk a little bit longer, Gav, just about the multiverse because all these types of talks of 13, I can understand why you don't understand that. I can understand why that's yeah, I can kind of understand that. I mean, what are you supposed to say, Cap? It's like, I mean, what can you say?
Yeah, I don't really know.
Yeah, I know you don't. I know you don't, Cap. I know you don't. And I don't expect you to like all these type of. I think I think they're talking of the 13 and talking about evolution and kind of religion, and those type of things. I'm just trying to say that it proves the existence of a god. Basically, it proves that religion and evolution is coming from the same source. Now, if that were presented to a genuine, free-will-thinking scientific body, no one could dispute that. It's too overwhelming. No one could put it down to a coincidence. It's absolutely possible to refute. It's impossible.
Mm.
Do you understand if that was presented in a free will thinking type of situation? To it would turn religion and science upside down. It would completely change it upside down. So I'm just trying to say that this process in 2009 and my entire life and all these type of things, proving an existence of a God will cause psychological problems alone. People go mad with it, like. I'm just trying to think about the multiverse, Cap, and how I can, can I'm just trying to think about the multiverse and kind of my experience why I think I've been flitting through dimensions without type of talking about things that I don't want to talk about. I don't want to talk about like people or situations or yeah. I'm trying to say it without actually going into 2009 and talk about certain things. It's very fucking stressful for me, this guy. And what I mean is, being the lad I am and going through this process and talking about people the way I talk about people, it's very difficult, Gav. You've been a 44-year-old lad who's had my arse whacked all my life. Well, that's a fact. I've had my arse whacked all my life. I'm not gonna, I'm not. It's very difficult to talk about this, to talk about kind of people.
Mm. Mm.
I sometimes feel I've been scrambled after that. I'm being blocked from speaking to that. I sometimes feel like that. Sometimes. Yes, sometimes I just sound fucking incoherent sometimes. I mean, I sound incoherent the best of times, Captain. Most of the time I sound incoherent. Have you got any memories from like? Do you remember the black and red jacket I had on, Cap?
Yeah, with the flag on the back.
With what, Cap?
It had something on the back of it.
And where was you sat when you saw me wearing that jacket? Now you should know this, Cap.
What's that?
You should
Where
know where you saw me for the first time wearing that black and red jacket with the
at
American
school?
flag on the back.
At school?
Yeah, but where was you sat? What class were you sat in?
I were in science.
You wasn't in science, Cap.
Oh, do you mean in woodwork?
Uh, yeah, that's right. Woodwork. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Well, the black and red seems to be a colour theme through this process. And the black and red jacket I had on when I was probably around 15 years old, I believe, at the time, with the American flag on the back. And that black and red tile, just a coincidence that black and red tile I did for me and my brother is black and red. It seems to be a colour theme through this. And when I think back to that black and red jacket, and I think about where we are now and how and the type of this situation, I don't know if I've lived this life before, and I don't know if I'm going to live it again, or I don't know if there's going to be another Aaron who's going to go through this very same thing. I can't. I just don't know, Kath. It's like I think I'm a clone as well. I think in one dimension I am some kind of clone, Kath, because just above my bum, right, there's like a little dentation. There's like one, well, not a little actually, it's quite big. It's quite it's just a little dentation. It's like it's a big dentation. It's like this fucking dint, Kath. Like no, I don't know what it's almost like some kind of like. I mean, I don't know if it's some kind of umbilical cord. Do you know some kind of cord?
God.
That word, Kath, you know, fucking, when you give. I do when a
Umbilical
baby's
cord.
born and they attach to that wire or whatever it is. What's that called?
Umbilical
Yeah, that's the
cord.
one. That's what I was trying to say. So I don't know if it's some kind of umbilical cord. I don't need to keep saying it, but you understand what I'm trying to say, don't you?
Umbilical cord.
Umbilical. The fucking cord that keeps a baby alive that they fucking chop off.
Yeah, it's an
But
umbilical.
I don't know if it's some kind of cord or some kind. I mean, people talk about reptilian tails.
God.
Yeah. Do me a favour, right? Don't phone me mum after this. Don't phone me mum, right? Don't phone the doctors. I'm not suicidal. I know thoughts about my brothers. I don't have any unusual thoughts.
Oh, you don't have an umbilical cord.
Everything is explainable. The things I say with I have a foundation. As concerning as it may sound,
God.
I'm laughing, but I don't think people are. I certainly don't think people are. I can see this going one way, Mika. I really believe this is a prelude to another admission. No, I really fucking believe that. I'm being serious. Everything seems very type of similar to past admissions.
Mm.
But anyway, so yeah, I've got this fucking dint, and I don't know if that's something to do with kind of being cloned. I was in hospital in 1989. Now, as far as I've been told, I was in there to have my grommets out. That's what my ma told me. The only memory I've got, from being in hospital in 1989, I believe it was 89. It might have been 88. Now, the year 88 keeps a lot of the kind of years are coming up. The year 1988 comes up a lot. 1989, I say 1989 because I believe I was around 8, 9 years old. Well, I can remember waking up in hospital, kind of being 9 years old. I'll say 9 years old, and I remember spewing up blood into them, grey type tray things. And my dad came to see me. He had his green overalls when he worked at Whiteley's, I believe, when he was a forklift driver, and he brought me some football stickers. I do remember that clearly. He had the green overalls on. He bought me some football stickers, but I never. You don't question that, did you? You're white in hospital. You don't fucking question it at 9 years old, do you, love? I wonder what the fuck I'm doing here. Is it about me grommets or am I some kind of clone? It- I don't think I was on any antipsychotics at the time, at 9 years old. I don't believe. As far as I could get, I mean, to be quite honest, looking back, they should have put me on antipsychotics then. Might have fucking helped stop a lot of problems in the future. I mean, it's not really very ethical, is it, to put 9-year-olds on antipsychotics.
Oh God.
Anyway, so I don't know if in 1980, in 1989, some kind of fucking clone or something. Because
No.
memories can be implanted, yeah. The year my father died in 1985, Gav, my nana took, when my mum went to Scotland to attend to the situation, me and my brother Stephen, my nana looked after me and Stephen, and she took us down to the park down the road. You know what Beachwood?
Yeah.
She took us to the park down there, and I remember, well, I don't, I fell on the floor and I cracked my head open, Gav, in the middle of my head. You know, and and my fucking head was pouring with blood. Now, my father has got a very similar scar to what I've got. When my father was around 2 years old, I think it was with my Auntie Jessie, his Auntie Jessica, my grandma's sister, and he ran in
Yeah.
front of a car. The car tap knocked him down, but not a massive impact. It wasn't a massive impact, but my dad had some kind. He got some kind of scar on his forehead. This is what me Walker and Margaret was telling me. My granddad's sister. She was telling this story, and I think about like reincarnation and ancestral trauma passing down to the children. You know, past life experience, all kinds of things. The simulation, like spirituality. Like, I was 5 years old in 1985, which the number five comes up. The number five is a significant number as well. Paul was born in 1985. So the link between me hitting my head on the floor, my father's, the surrounding factors to my father's death, a very similar scar to my father. Paul also born in 1985. This connection with this hereditary gene. I said, I think it was part of one of the admissions. I can't remember which one it was. I don't know if it was 2018 when I was talking about like post on Facebook app of being the reincarnation of my father. Like some kind of reincarnation, some kind of like a fucking ghost from that, something like that connects to my father's history, and like I know things about my father's childhood. And again, I don't want to speak about like certain things, because it's too distressing. But it fits into this. It fits into the experiments. I remember in one of the I remember being off. Now this is weird, right? This is now listen to this for fucking absolutely like eerie and a bit fucking disturbing. I remember, I think I'm not too sure, but 2016 or 18. I can't remember which admission. If it was one of the recent admissions, I think. You know, I'm in Ma and Pa in the room, and I'm talking about this. You know, something about my dad's history that I'm not being told that. That basically he got fucking like they killed him. Like something more to it than my father kind of committing suicide.
Hmm.
Something more that we're not being told. But then comes the multiverse in and then comes the multiverse into this guy. Maybe one dimension he did commit suicide, but then in another dimension he might not have done. Anyway, so I'm talking to my mum and pa, and I'm talking about something about my father's own history. You know that we don't. You know, there's something more to it. And then I'm looking at my ma, right? And I said, "Hello, Shirley," like that. Like that's me ma, isn't it? I'm her son. So why am I looking at my ma, right? I can admit, I think my ma got a bit freaked out by that. I mean, you would, wouldn't you?
Hmm.
You fucking would. Your son saying to you, like this weird type of, "Hello, Shirley." You understand?
Hmm.
I don't fucking
Hellfire.
understand. But
Oh
I
God.
say there's something about my childhood, uh, like like there's some type of in my life, there's something of childhood trauma. Or maybe something happened in another dimension of another Aaron where I'm experiencing that trauma, but not like I've not gone through whatever that trauma is, you understand? It's
Mm.
almost like being abused as a child. Now, I was never abused as a child, but certain aspects of the beginnings of my life, certain childhood type of two situations in my childhood. No, once, yeah, a few what would suggest something of being sexually abused. Certain things in my kind of early years, Cal, will suggest that type of situation of someone being sexually abused. Now, I've never been sexually abused, but this is some type of trauma, and I don't know if in another dimension, some conscious, some other Aaron has gone through something like that. I don't know if there's a link there with my biological father. And I say this with foundation, and I'm gonna get to the point of why I think these things, not just thinking it because because I'm just fucking mentally ill and stuff. I felt like my auntie Jessie like hated me for some reason. I felt like she just hated me, just like yeah, always like sarcastically and almost like she fucking disliked me. Now she came to see me in 2012. Did Jesse and Frank, and I'm talking about type of things and what were going on and things like that. I wasn't talking about I wasn't talking about my father's history, none of this type of stuff. I was talking about kind of hepatitis research, and I've been sectioned illegally, and there's a cover up, And Frank said, leave it alone. And I thought, what do you mean, leave it alone? Leave what alone? What do you mean by that? Leave it alone, he said. I never said, what do you mean by that? I never said, I can never see you what do you mean by that type of thing. Anyway, I'm not too sure if it was after I got discharged after 2012. Uh, but I texted my manager yesterday and said, is there anything about my childhood that, I should know about? That, that I'm not being told. Uh, And she said, well, as far as I remember, you had a nice childhood. But ask your Stephen to see if he remembers anything. Now, that's quite a statement, is that, Kath? That's quite a thought, isn't it? Ask your Stephen to see if he remembers anything. That's telling me there's something to remember. No, I don't remember anything. I have no type of, I have kind of happy childhood. I mean, I don't have many childhood memories, to be quite honest. In fact, the only two really from 1985. The only two memories I've got from 1985 is on the park, kind of like banging my head, and Christmas that year. Me and Stephen found the presents in my mum's wardrobe, and we opened up the presents. And it was the He-Man era, Cat. It was the He-Man figures, and we opened up the fucking the lot of the presents. There was I remember the Purple Panther from He-Man. Now the colour purple seems to fit into this situation. Anyway, without going about the colour purple, and why I don't like the colour purple, but it does seem to fit into this situation or this type of thing.
Mm.
Anyway, so when I just said, ask your Stephen to see if he remembers the thing, I don't know if something happened, in my childhood, or maybe something did happen to another Aaron in another dimension. I don't know if that's part of me. I don't know if that's part of my father's psychiatric history. I don't, and I'm not trying to get to the bottom of it. This is something that it's impossible to, to go through the archives. How do you go through the archives in a different dimension? I can't go through the archives in this dimension. I can't, get simple things answered. And what do you think's going to be in my like in my medical records if I am fucking like cloned? Yeah, you're cloned on this day. Do you understand? I remember
Fucking hell.
2016's admission. When I went to hospital to get type of my head treated and things like that. Before I actually got my head treated, uh, in fact, it might have been afterwards. They took me to this X-ray room, Cap. Now I don't know why I was getting X-rayed, but it was one of those full body X-rays, or should I say, one of those X-rays, you kind of you stand up and they're taking an X-ray of your stomach, basically, Cap. That's what it was. It was an X-ray to X-ray my stomach. And when I walked into this, type of room, I noticed there were pregnant ladies in this room, Cap. Like I fucking noticed pregnant ladies. I didn't think anything at the time. This is all kind of hindsight. But when the lady said, what's your name? What's your name and date of birth? So I said, my name is Aaron William Lynch, and my date of birth is 9th of 3rd, 1980, I think. And then she looked over her glasses, like, as if I'd type of said something that made her look over her glasses. Impregnation, experiments, clones. People ask me for a certain period, Cap, if I've got any children, out of context. And when someone asks you once, you just think it's, I don't know, conversation breaker. You're taking your medication, maybe a little bit, a bit type of nervous. It's one of those type of people, Cap. Or they just want to say something. Maybe they don't want to give you medication, not saying absolutely anything, you understand? So you've got your children, Aaron? No, I don't have any kids. And then when you get asked the second time, just out of context as well, you got any children now? No, I don't have any kids. Then when you get asked the first time, then it highlights in your mind, doesn't it? First time it doesn't. Second time you're thinking maybe, but no, probably just a coincidence. And the third time, you think, why are these people asking me if I've got any children? First comes a father, then comes a son or daughter. Twins seem to be an aspect of this situation as well, Kat. Twins seem to be a theme of this. Now, I don't know if that's in relation to people. People talk about the Anunnaki and the reptilian twins, and the Bible, Cain and Abel. They were twins, Cain and Abel. One was Lucifer's, one was Adam. Good and evil, and all that type of stuff. Twins do seem to be a theme through this process. I mean, they call Halifax Twin Town, don't they? I mean, they call a lot of towns Twin Town. Grimsby is called Twin Town. These things are unusual, but it does seem to be a thing. I've experienced different kind of kind of different versions. Different kind of versions, or maybe type of put it into a simplistic, less complicated type of 3 dimensions, Cap. Like I could be born in one dimension the natural way by my mother. Then in the second dimension, I could be cloned, right? But in the second dimension, it's still another like my ma's, my ma, my pa's, my pa. Only the history has slightly changed. There could be slight change within the dimension that I've been born naturally. I mean, obviously, the second dimension, when I'm cloned, that's a massive change, isn't it? But in the sense of like being born the natural way in one dimension, but quite possibly simultaneously at the same time, born being cloned in another dimension, but the dimension that I'm cloned in could be run on what's called non-player character, like autopilot, simulated by the main source of creation. So my ma and pa in the second dimension who were behind or had this associated exclusion with this cloning type of thing, they're still conscious in that dimension. But me might be kind of a non-player character. and then the place where I've been born naturally, the dimension that I've been born naturally, I could ascend to where I've been cloned, a transfer of consciousness. Now that is flawed, Cap. I understand how how fucking crazy that sounds. Yeah, I'm very well aware, Cap, about how absolutely mad I sound with all this, and you know, and how kind of far fetched it is. If it's that I'm talking about, real things like that, that make me think these things. And if I sat down, and type and you put it into a simple type of thing, I'm so back and forth. I mean, I'm very well aware. I'm talking about number 13 and kind of religion and evolution. I'm talking about my father's history, and I'm talking about different. I'm talking about Mount Jesse and childhood trauma and all these things. And Mount Jesse saying, "Ask your secret to see if he remembers." So, I've got this process of tower with number 13. 2009, not being sexy because you're mentally ill. I've got all that. And the evidence of God, the evidence to prove that the lottery is not random. It's like to prove that the lottery is part of the simulation. To actually prove that Camelot and the Euro Millions, these multi-billion pound institutions, is all part of the simulated reality. Talking about reptilians and clones and some kind of reptilian hybrid. Maybe I'm things I don't even know. Maybe I'm things that these people don't even know, but somebody knows. I don't know. Maybe they don't. I can't be too sure. I don't know what stage of the simulation this is. I've got good foundation to believe that I've been flitting through dimensions, past admissions. In 2016, I believe a psychiatrist asked me, "Do you know what you're doing here?" Almost like I'm saying things that they're unaware of, that has been brought to their attention. How does he know this? He shouldn't know this. It's like, and was he sat around the table when this meeting took place? It's like I'm saying, because on the wardcap, there are microphones in locations, microphones in the bedroom, microphones in where you sit, the pod areas, to pick up conversation, to pick up what people are saying. I mean, I don't know, just all kinds of different things. All kinds of different things to why those microphones are located where they're located. So it's almost like I'm saying things that I shouldn't know. It's been brought to their attention. All kinds of different things. People are asking me questions to find out information. Are you a computer programmer? And I don't know if they're asking me that because it's a serious question or they wanted me to think I'm a computer programmer. So I've got good reason to think I've been flitting through different dimensions, and each dimension is unknown to the dimension before, and there's another dimension above them. One main source of creation that created all life and all planets, created the entire simulations, unbeknownst to say each one, all controlled by the main source, giving people the ability, the knowledge, the know-how to create a simulation, believing they're the ones. It's like me, Cap. I think if I'm a clone and I've been cloned in a dimension, and the dimension that I'm in are doing it because they think they're doing it by their. If I'm some kind of clone and they've created me, they might think they're the ones behind the creator doing it for their reasons. And quite possibly, indirectly, the creation have created those people within that dimension. It give them the ability to create clones for whatever reason. They think they're doing it by their own free will, their own, and that might not be what's going on. It's like in 2012, Cap, I was talking to member staff, and I was amazed by the control. I could feel that. I could. I was amazed by the control, and she was acknowledging what I was saying. But when I spoke about something on my laptop, she didn't seem to have a clue what I was talking about. she acknowledged one part of it just by facial expression, just by manner, all that type of stuff. But then the identity a bit confused by what I was talking about on my laptop. So I thought about that. If they have the ability or association with controlling people, are they themselves not being controlled? I'm controlled, but theirs is free will and choice. I can be controlled just to walk wherever, look at whatever, think whatever, and their thoughts are their own. They're exempt from the very same things they're doing. What height does it go to the ultimate controllers? I mean, did you create yourself, Gav? Gav? Hello? Hello? Gav? I need to hire myself out to parents who struggle getting a baby to sleep. Hello? Gav? Hello? If you have a problem getting your child to sleep, Aaron is at your service. He'll talk to your baby for an hour and it'll be sound asleep. Hello? Anyway, I won't, I won't do you any, Jeff. I'll let you get some, yeah, I'll let you get some sleep. I'll speak to you soon.